Hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this lunchtime. We've got a really exciting topic for you today, which is, well, I think we're all going to benefit from understanding more about how to grow our herbal medicine cabinet to support our immunity. Um, I really love this topic because it's something that really shows the power of herbs because it's one where when you start to incorporate herbs, you'll notice yourself recovering quicker from infections and also preventing them, which is sort of what we really want to do is prevent ourselves from getting too sick in the first place. But this is one that's really, really helpful that you can use with your loved ones as well, children. They work really lovely on the little ones, and you'll start to see sort of this healthier you over this. Well, let's see how the winter turns out. But obviously, as things start to get colder and darker, we need to look inwards, and this is a really great time and season for nourishment. So, just to let you know, this is being recorded. So, if you need to jump off at any point, we will be sharing the slides and the recording and even a handout because we've got some lovely recipes. Um, but yeah, just to start, quick introduction. So, my name is Izzy Seadon, and I'm a naturopath, nutritional therapist, and a herbalist. So, this is absolutely what I love doing, helping clients and people support their health using herbs and natural medicine. And then we also have Sonia on the line as well, who is the founder of Hello Wellness, which is an incredible brand. I'm sure you're all familiar with it, which is why you are here. And they have some really lovely products, which also are going to help us with immunity and lots of other things, hormones, digestion, all this stuff. So lovely. But Sonia is in the theme of this topic. She is not feeling 100%.
Absolutely on theme, not feeling very well today. So amazing, Izzy. We're all ears anyway, because this is absolutely your topic, all the lovely herbal things and the herbal blends and what we can be using.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be sipping away on my herbal tea whilst listening.
Absolutely. So yeah, so Sonia's got all the herbs ready to go. So she is case in point of how incredible all these things are to keep us all because she looks fantastic, even whilst not feeling 100%. Okay, right, let's get in. Herbal medicine cabinet. So let's start with a quick introduction about winter health. So of course, as I mentioned, this is the season where we're getting shorter days, longer nights. It's getting a bit darker and colder. And obviously, this is the time where we naturally start to slow down. Gone is like the heady, exciting summer where it's all about partying and socializing. And ultimately, what we would naturally be doing when we're living in a more seasonal life, we would be slowing down. Now, this has changed because of the advent of electricity and central heating. So, of course, lots of benefits from that. But I think it's one of those where we have lost touch, certainly, with honoring the seasons and understanding how we can align more with them. So, for example, we are probably, dare I say it, probably weaker creatures than we used to be back in the day because our cold exposure is so much more limited because obviously we've got central heating and therefore, we don't stress our bodies to the same extent that it would have been used to. And therefore, you know, stress is always a bit of stress is always going to be helpful for building our resilience. Whereas now our bodies are probably quite confused because we're warm, then suddenly we'll get a bit of cold, and therefore we're not getting that sort of constant exposure, which is going to be building our resilience. And when we have a little bit of stress, that makes us stronger. So we're probably, as I said, now I'm not speaking for all of us, but certainly me, I'm going to be a bit more of a weakling than I would have been if I was born 200 years ago and out in the fields. Now, also, what this means is that with the reduced natural light, our bodies are also going to be more confused about what time of day it is. Now, particularly in the winter when we're getting less sunshine because the sun, the cues from the sun are going to be telling us that it's time to rest. Whereas what we've replaced that with is electricity. And therefore, we're finding that in the evenings, our body's still stimulated, particularly by the blue light, which is in sort of all artificial lighting, which will be telling our bodies that it's still midday. And therefore, we might find it harder, to start getting a better schedule with the sleep, waking, and energy because we've replaced the natural cues of the sun with this artificial lighting that keeps us in this sort of artificially heightened environment. As you can imagine, just we're constantly looking at lighting, which is telling us the wrong time of day to what it is outside. So, actually, what we're learning more and more is the impact of the natural circadian rhythms in supporting, as I said, sleep, energy, but also immunity. And of course, you know, coming up this time of year, September is very busy, back to school season for parents, children, and work starts to pick up again. So again, our schedules are putting that demand on us when really, again, this is the time when we should be slowing down and getting in. And of course, finally, food has changed. Now, our seasonal foods again can start confusing the body because we'll be eating bananas, even then when this is time for like more root vegetables. The berry season starting to end. Well, we've got to actually, we probably should be sticking with the berries for a bit longer, but then we shouldn't be eating, these summer fruits like, strawberries, bananas, mangoes, all that sort of stuff. So our body is constantly receiving all this information, which is telling it to do all these different things. And of course, it starts to conflict with this modern day life. So that's a quick introduction as to why what we can start to do is use herbal medicines to adapt and support us when we're probably under more stress than ever before. Does that all make sense to everyone so far? And please, I forgot to say, pop any questions you have in the chat. So let's start to talk about our immune system. So our immune system, incredibly clever because what we have, as you're probably aware, when you, for example, put your finger on something really hot, you'll get an instant reaction of your hand pulling away because you don't have time to think, oh, that's hot. Maybe I should move my hand. The body will automatically just move it away. So you're not going to burn yourself. And we also have this sort of innate immunity. So this is the instant reaction to some sort of pathogen or stress to the body. And what tends to happen is we'll have our physical barriers, so obviously our skin, but also we'll also have things like mucus. So, for example, you might suddenly start sneezing if you're exposed to something that your body wants to flush out straight away. Even crying, saliva, diarrhea, a classic one. If you've eaten something you don't agree with, you'll vomit it out, or you'll expel it through having terrible bowel movements. So you've got this automatic response when we're being exposed to something that's challenging the body and it starts to flushing. It's this flushing reaction. So this is sort of our innate immunity, as well as having like these lovely white blood cells, which will also go on and start to eat up these pathogens that it's being exposed to. So again, the white blood cells will start increasing, and this just happens straight away because there's no time really to faff around and decide, oh, is this helpful? Is it not? The body will get onto it straight away. But then we also have our acquired immunity, which is a slightly slower and longer process. And this obviously develops as we get exposed to different things, because then our body will see, okay, this virus, this came in, and it'll tag it, and it'll then have specific, soldiers in the immune system, which will then know how to react to this specific virus. It knows how to disable it and get it out of the body. So this is our, incredibly intelligent system, which will produce specific antibodies to specific things, and therefore what we have in herbal medicine, we have things which will support our innate immunity. For example, echinacea. This is going to really increase our white blood cells so that we're going to start engulfing and eating up all these pathogens. But then also we have medicinal mushrooms, which are going to help our acquired immunity, which is going to help our antibodies, which are responding to specific threats that they've now learned about as well. So we can support all these things. And obviously, also what we have is, in fact, I'll talk about them. Are we talking about them next? No. next, coming up. And also we have ways of supporting this as well. So raising our temperature, whether that's through sweating, whether that's through taking certain herbs that help do that, that's when we can start to as well make sure that we're flushing things out quicker than if we're suppressing some of these symptoms, which is what sort of a lot of common medications do. Okay, so I said medications suppress symptoms, but some of these things that we're all going to be maybe guilty of at some point of our life are also going to be our big immune suppressors. Now, I've mentioned stress. Can't talk about it enough. Um, Essentially, what we've seen in the research is when we are in a stressful situation, so for example, they studied students who were studying for exams, obviously very, very stressful. This actually decreases the white blood cells. So it's some of these called lymphocytes, which are there to help fight off infection. So our innate immunity, and also our natural killer cells. There's lots of names for different parts of our immune system, but what they found is that when we're under stress, this reduces our ability to produce them. Now, this is very interesting because what we actually find is, have you ever been really, really stressed, but you've not got sick, you've not had a cold or flu, but then as soon as you go on holiday, you're then wiped out and then you get sick? Because this is exactly what happens. Because when we are in our fight or flight state, our body is really not going to be prioritizing dealing with the everyday infections that crop up. And so we might be like, I'm really healthy because I haven't actually got that winter cold I usually have. But the thing is, sometimes, yes, we want to avoid getting sick, but sometimes if we're not getting sick at all, that is telling us that there's something going on and our body's not fighting what it really should be. So then it'll crop up at a time when, yeah, perhaps you're then able to relax. And so then the body will go around and hoover up all the things that it's been ignoring for a while. Or perhaps, these things can drive deeper into the body and then manifest as something more serious later on. So this is what we do see with stress. So this is very, very important to remember. My top tip is take note of what the body's telling you. So actually a little bit of, a couple of days of feeling ill here and there is telling us that the body is able to fight these things, because the symptoms of what we feel when we're feeling sick, these symptoms are just telling us that the body's trying to get rid of and clear of this infection. So another thing would be sleep deprivation. So sleep is so, so critical for our immune system. It's sort of overnight, our body really repairs and recovers. And again, what we've seen is people that have not slept as much, our immune system drops right down. So certain things like our cytokines, they will be made and released whilst we're sleeping. Some of the T cells, so this again, it's our acquired immunity, these sorts of things will also be released whilst we're asleep. So this is a really critical time. So we cannot underestimate the power of sleep. And I think many of us have also experienced that when we're sleep deprived, then suddenly we're getting sick all the time because we're not fighting all of these things overnight. And then finally, some really interesting research as well is about how sugar also decreases our immunity. My favorite story was, so my sister every year she does Lent, where she gives up all chocolate and sugar. And she's very extreme. She's very like, right, this is all going, and she'll stick to it. But what she does before she gives everything up for Lent, she'll go on her pre-Lent diet, which involves eating so much sugar and all the things that she knows she's going to be deprived of for the next 40 days. And guess what happens? She gets sick so badly because of the amount of sugar she's been exposing her body to. So we've had this has been happening for a number of years. I think she's slowly learning and getting the hint to not suddenly just go completely wild. But this is backed up in the research as well. So um, even 100 grams of sugar reduced the ability of the white blood cells to sort of get rid of some pathogens by about 40%. So this is quite big stuff. So of course, we're always going to need a bit of sugar, but it is the certain types of sugar that really we can see an impact on our immunity as well. So stress, sleep, sugar, your three S's that can suppress the immune system. Okay, so let's think about how we can start to fix this then. Well, obviously, rest is going to be very, very important. Now, I probably, I won't spend too long on resting because this is going to be very, very individual according to what you have time to fit in. Because I might be saying this and you thinking, Izzy, I'm not going to be able to rest. So therefore, let's think of some other things that we can incorporate to keep us going if we are in a stress state, as we might be coming up with the, as I said, September's sort of busy, busy season. So, sweating. Now, I love this because we can all do this. Now, this is my favorite thing. I was telling Sonia last night, what we need to do is help our body raise its temperature because when our body temperature is raised by every degree, we're increasing our lymphatic flow and we're also increasing pyrogens, which are there to sort of kill off some of these pathogens. So, therefore, what we want to do is encourage that natural fever to then kill off the things that our body wants to get rid of. Now I'm not saying we want to give ourselves a very dangerous fever, but generally as adults we can handle this. We're all happy to spend time in a sauna. So if you haven't got a sauna on hand, you're feeling too sick to get to one, my favorite thing to do is to have a super hot bath, really, really as hot as you can manage it, and add some really heating herbs like ginger in it. And then what you do is you jump out the bath and you wrap yourself in your towels, your dressing gown, and then you jump into bed, wrap yourself in duvets, and you'll feel unbearably hot and you'll start sweating, sweating, sweating. If you're able to fall asleep, you wake up the next morning and you feel completely amazing. So this is my like at home tip that you can start to do to if you want to shake something off relatively quickly. My favorite thing is to just sweat it out. And of course, keeping up the hydration. So we'll be talking about lots of herbs that we can start to add through herbal teas, but we want to be flushing out. So our lymphatic system, sort of the body's cleaner, and we need to be moving our lymph and hydrating it. So, and our kidneys as well. So definitely getting lots of lovely hot waters, herbal teas, all those lovely things in will be really, really supportive. Um, and yes, I mentioned this earlier around the fact that we're probably a bit more wimpy with central heating than our hardcore ancestors. But yeah, through getting minor stresses, so actually raising the body temperature and then cooling again, so using like being exposed to cold, then this can really actually help build our resilience. So if you start trying to, it's the worst time of year to want to do it, but get into the habit of having a quick burst of cold water in your shower. You'll feel amazing, actually. You'll love it. It is quite addictive. But at the same time, again, you're increasing your body's resilience to raise its inner warmth so that it's going to really be able to support itself. So, sunlight. Yes, we need this. We want to, yeah, think about how we can actually, what I'd recommend actually, here's my tip for this slide. If you download the app, D-Minder, it will tell you when you can get outside and you're getting the most exposure to sunlight to increase your vitamin D reserves naturally. So I love this app. So it'll set to sort of where you are, your specific location, and then I'll say, right, getting outside, between 11 and 12 is the best time of the day to optimize your vitamin D. So that is my top tip. Get that app, D-Minder. It's really, really helpful because as we know, vitamin D is so, so important, such an incredible hormone for supporting immune balance, sleep, mood, etc. So getting exposure to sunlight in the morning, if you can. I know it's grey right now where I am. But yeah, switching on vitamin D production. And of course, it's naturally produced. Get vitamin D2 from mushrooms and other vegetables, and vitamin D3 and animal fats and things like that. So yes, lots of natural ways to get it in as well without having to start with supplementation. So let's get into the herbs. Now, what we want to do is thinking about getting herbs that are going to be there to really support our at the times when we're feeling sick. So this is how we can start to think about building our herbal medicine cabinet. Now, what you might notice is a couple of these herbs you can get in a supermarket. So this is what I really love about herbal medicine because you can do first aid very, very easily. I'm sure actually many of you probably just have some dried ginger or maybe dried thyme in your cupboard anyway. So you can straight away start to ensure if you're cooking with spices, you will probably have a lot of things that are going to help your um, self recover whilst you're then able to get more in-depth products that you might need. So ginger. And we know this, we know that lemon and ginger is just such a lovely drink to have when we're feeling ill. And what happens is the gingerols are anti-inflammatory, so going to sort of bring down that inflammation. They're heating, so they're going to actually help support the body, boost circulation and clear stagnation. And what you can do with ginger is I would say starting to think about other ways that you can use it. Now, what I love to do is making compresses with ginger. If when you've got all that sort of achy body, when you're feeling a bit fluey and your kidneys might start to ache or your joints, what you can do is actually make a really strong ginger tea, and if you soak a flannel in that tea and then you apply it to the body, that's going to be really lovely and warming and soothing and anti-inflammatory for those bits of the body. So we don't necessarily need to just think about taking these things internally. We can use them topically as well. Now, another thing that I love is thyme. So my first recommendation, if anyone has, like a congested head, sniffles, congested schnozzle, or coughs, all that sort of thing. Anything like upper respiratory. Thyme is amazing. So it's rich in sort of antimicrobial, so it's going to go through and actually support the body to fight off bacterias, viruses, yeasts, all that sort of stuff. So that's what we're talking about, antimicrobials. We're talking about those microbes that we don't want. Now, because it's so rich in those beautiful volatile oils, all you need to do is pour on hot water, and that steam itself will be so therapeutic. So, getting a big bowl, throwing some thyme in, and any other really beautiful, those Mediterranean herbs, which are so rich in those volatile oils, like rosemary, basil, all those sorts of things. Throw that in, add on hot water, and then you can start to steam, and that steam will start to loosen the mucus so it's easier to breathe. It'll actually help clarify your brain so you can start to think better, relieve the airways, as well as going through and being really antimicrobial. So I really love thyme. And calendula. Now, calendula, we've got some really lovely Hello Wellness blends with calendula in. And calendula, I'll be talking about this later actually, but it's fabulous for the lymphatic system. So actually any infections where we want to get the lymph draining, then calendula is going to be really lovely. And it's also great, just generally first aid. It's going to support tissue healing. So you can apply it if you've cut yourself or anything like that. It's also antifungal, so we like it for our candida. But also just look at it. It's so bright and golden. This is the energy that we want in this time of year, little herbal sunshine. So I'll be talking about that in a few slides, how calendula is so, so wonderful for these dark winter nights. And then also we have the marshmallow root. So marshmallow root, what it is, it's when you, well, what you can do for the roots, like ginger as well, actually, if you decoct it, so this means if you're simmering it in hot water for 10, 20, even half an hour, that will actually start to pull out more of the mucilage, these compounds that are in the roots, so that you can also make a really soothing tea, which is going to be all gloopy, that you can then drink, and it'll go down and it'll soothe, as I said, your throat, your stomach, and all the way through your digestive tract. So lots of things. So you can decoct it and then you can preserve it. And this is when we can add a bit of sugar or honey, and then it makes a really lovely sore throat blend. But of course, even just taking it in a capsule would be really, really lovely, because that mucilage, when the capsule breaks apart, that will start to coat your mucous membranes and start to calm that sort of inflammation on that. So Ginger. Well, I mentioned sort of what you can do is use it as a topical compress, but I also wanted to share we can make our own throat lozenges. So here's a quick recipe which we'll send to you. So you can just get freshly grated ginger, add some water and a bit of sugar, but then we've got some really soothing throat relief. And of course, this base recipe. You can swap out ginger for something else, or you can add in maybe some marshmallow root, maybe some licorice, some thyme, and sort of play around with it. There's sort of you can't really go wrong with herbal medicine. Well, with these sorts of herbs, you can't because you're just making something, when I'm talking about these different herbs, if one appeals, you can be like, okay, maybe I'll try this recipe with it, which is why I think it's really we can give ourselves permission to play around and it brings out that natural sort of childlike wonder because we can, yeah, become little potion makers. So I'd really, really recommend actually, if you do are interested in this, then start to make your own blends as well. And as I said, this is so easy. You can get all these ingredients from a supermarket, and then you've got your own throat relief. So it's saving money as well. Um, so obviously I mentioned thyme, the steam inhalations. So again, thyme, very, very easy to work with. You can make a syrup with it as well. So just making sort of a herbal tea with thyme, adding some bit of sugar that will preserve it. And again, you'll find that a really nice sort of throat relief. Also, just adding hot water and gargling with thyme. If you're getting a sore throat, again, getting it in that area is going to be really, really nice. And if you don't want to use sugar, then you can use something like glycerin or alcohol or even vinegar as an extract to for thyme. So I make a nice thyme vinegar because you can also use that on salads. So again, all you need to do is get your herb, add vinegar, and leave it. It's that easy. Herbal medicine can be that easy. Same with alcohol. Then you've made an alcohol extract of thyme. Same glycerin, etc., etc. So there's so many ways to work with these herbs. And as I mentioned, doing like that fever bath to stimulate that sweating, you can add thyme in as well. And yeah, if you've got the muscle aches, add a bit of Epsom salts, really relaxing. So it's really nice actually. This is when if we get sick, this is when it can be quite fun when you just like doing really nice supportive things and taking that time out to care for yourself. So another thing is when I'm talking about the symptoms that we get when we're ill and it's this body fighting it off. And another thing is listening to your body because why are we ill? Maybe the body is just telling us it is time to slow down, and we're forced to, so that we do just huddle under a duvet and get lots of herbs in, and that in itself is going to be really therapeutic. So now, so we've covered some things like ginger and thyme, and I've got some more that we might be familiar with. So sage, again, another supermarket herb, and a mint as well. So very easy to grow. Sage, a bit like thyme, uh, also sort of a mint. You can get, it's also very rich in these volatile oils. So you can throw this in. In fact, everything on here you can do with sage. But again, a sage gargle for the throat. It really does have an affinity for the upper respiratory tract, actually. And I'd really be thinking to have some of this on hand. So really anti-inflammatory. And the thing is, what's really lovely is that it's quite calming as well, because actually all these herbs with these volatile oils, they're going to be very calming because when we're in this really stressed out situation, we might be thinking, oh, we're really sick and I've got so much work to do. And it's actually adding to that stress. And as I mentioned earlier, the stress is not going to help our immune system. This is the time where we want to go into our parasympathetic, into our rest and digest. And this is exactly what these beautiful mints do. These volatile oils will actually start to relax ourselves. So even if we can't get there through our mind, the herbs will force us into our parasympathetic nervous system so that we do trigger that rest and digest, and therefore the healing starts to happen. Because the healing's not going to happen when we're stressed. The healing's going to happen when we are calm. So this is why I think there's also this benefit of getting these beautiful herbs in, because they're going to actually, they're not just working as antivirals or anti-inflammatory, they're working on all levels of the body. So they're also going to be calming the nervous system, which is so powerful. So again, really love sage for doing this. Now, a really common one that we've probably all heard of and maybe used would be the echinacea. So this is a beautiful plant um, from North America, and it's become super, super popular because, well, it was actually originally um, was used by a herbalist, a doctor actually, and he actually used it for his wife's cancer. And this sort of, if we think about it like this approach to stimulating the immune system to deal with a tumor, like this is how much echinacea could be incredible. So when we're dealing with a little cold and flu, echinacea can be really, really helpful in terms of increasing our white blood cells. So it stimulates the process phagocytosis, phago just meaning sort of engulfing, eating these cells. That's the process. So what happens is you have a little cell, and then our white blood cells will come and engorge it. So that's the phagocytosis process. So this is what echinacea does. It really increases that ability. So I use it a lot for bacterial infections where it's particularly helpful for. So when we're thinking about echinacea, yes, when there's a bacterial component to, so really, really good clue. If your mucus is green or yellow, then there's going to be some sort of bacterial infection as well. So getting in the echinacea, but just thinking about it as well for things like UTIs could be really helpful. Any sort of infection. Don't just think of these herbs when you're ill, and get them associated with immunity for illness. Think of them for other first aid type remedies. So that's another encouragement. Having echinacea on hand, don't just think, oh, I need it for when I've got a cold or a flu. Just actually any time you might be dealing with some sort of infection is going to be really, really helpful. So olive leaf, beautiful, beautiful herb. So really powerful as an antiviral. So we've got echinacea, which see I use more for bacteria, and we've got olive leaf for more for antiviral. Combining the two, wow, we've got everything covered. So what we want to do is getting in some olive leaf. Now, it can be quite bitter tasting, not the yummiest. But still, making a little syrup with that, adding it to a tea, getting some tinctures, all that sort of stuff, or in capsules as well. If you don't like the taste of herbs, that's why we really love Hello Wellness because they have their capsule range. So you can incorporate them really, really easily. And then finally, licorice. Now, in China, what they tend to do is they'll classify herbs whether they're heating or cooling, and therefore if something is heating and you're getting like an infection that's really cold, then you'll use the heating herbs. Or if you're getting an infection that's really hot, then you need the cooling herbs. So you sort of see like take for example, it's really hot in the summer, so you're probably going to want a cucumber rather than having something that's rich in ginger. So you can see there's like a natural instinct to getting your heating and cooling. Um, so usually what they'll do is if there's a new virus thing, they will work out the attributes of the condition. So say it's like a SARS virus, they'll work out the attributes and then they'll work out the specific herbs that they want to use, and they'll then develop this protocol. But before they've had time to work out all the attributes, they will always recommend licorice because licorice just works for every virus infection ever. So, so whatever it is, licorice basically. So licorice, and then you can work for the nuanced little herbs. Okay, this one's going to be really good for da 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 da. But the baseline will always be licorice. And this is fantastic because obviously in China, they are using herbal medicine at the same time as pharmaceutical medicine. So it's a very integrated system. So the doctors will understand how to use both, and therefore licorice, anytime there's some sort of respiratory virus going around, get the licorice out. So it's been really well studied for its antiviral properties. And the great thing about licorice is that a bit like marshmallow, it has sort of gloopy mucilaginous aspect that you can draw out, which will also again start to coat the entire digestive tract from your throat downwards, calming those mucous membranes, just making things flow a lot easier. And of course, when we think about the mucous membranes, we think about the lungs as well. So that's why licorice is just so wonderful for coughs. So getting some licorice syrup is going to be really, really nice and really, really soothing. So yeah, I've just seen Pat is using vitamin C powder plus echinacea tincture and juice if I have a cold. Such a good system. And I know that lots of people find, yeah, vitamin C plus echinacea knocks it on the head. But we've got some other things, that we can start to add in as well. So perhaps thinking about some licorice and see how that goes because it's so, so yummy as well. And the great thing about actually going back to the point about getting in our rest and digest. Licorice will help work on the adrenals, so give us the strength and resilience as well to get through these testing times. So will give us a bit more energy and a boost for our recovery. So we love licorice. Okay, so how can we incorporate this? So, echinacea tincture, you've already got the echinacea tincture. So, anyone else, really recommend getting hold of some. Rose hips, they're out at the minute. Literally, I walked past some rose hips earlier. You can make rose hip tea. But Hello Wellness, actually, do you have the rose hips? Is that Native Wisdom? Do you have it on the Hello Wellness as well? Your rose hip powder?
We have the rose hip glycerite liquid on Hello Wellness because that is really easy for people to get down, even kids. So yeah, that's on there, and also the elderberry plus, so the tincture that is elderberry, echinacea, some thyme in there to cover the fungal aspect, and some cloves.
Nice. Okay, so you can get a beautiful tincture with elderberry, cloves, thyme, and echinacea from Hello Wellness. So I'd recommend all getting that straight away. Um, and yeah, and that's the thing. It's really nice to have some things on hand. So doing a little shop of what you can store because the tinctures last forever. So you can get that, and you can take it prophylactically as well as acutely. You can increase the dosage if you are feeling sick. But elderberry is such a nice one to take sort of during the winter. It is really like that immune tonic that you can take regularly. And then yeah, you can combine it with things like the rosehip glycerite as well. So the rosehip's really beautiful because they're such a great form of vitamin C, which as we're saying is going to be really lovely for immunity. So plus obviously help get the bowels moving and they're just lovely like immune tonic. So you could do lots with the rose hips as well. Really beautiful. And then we have, yeah, comfort and recovery. Yes, comfort, marshmallow roots, so comforting, thyme, honey and lemon. And of course the homeopathy. So this is, I mean, so Sonia, I don't know whether you want to talk about the homeopathy kit, but usually when I feel like I'm coming down with something, I'll take an aconite
Yeah,
or belladonna.
absolutely. Homeopathy is so easy to reach for, isn't it? When you're just not sure what to take, because something like aconite will always nip a infection in the bud if you can get in them quickly enough. And all the other lovely things you get in the kit with the little booklet to tell you what to try. So if you've got an earache on the left side, it will tell you to take a pulsatilla, and if it's on the right side, it will tell you to take a Merc Viv. So for first aid things, this is the main reason that my kids, who are now enormous grown-ups, never needed to see the GP, because we could just nip everything in the bud and get them back to school quickly. So highly recommend a homeopathy kit. We stock the ones here from Helios. You can buy them online from Helios Pharmacy or from Ainsworth's Pharmacy. A very worthwhile investment.
Yes, yeah, and really, really portable if you get a little travel one. Uh,
Yes.
and I would say maybe Sonia, we have to get you to do a homeopathy first aid webinar at some point.
Yes, yeah, I think that that would be amazing, because even though you can have the kit and have the booklet, sometimes a little bit more of an explanation can give you confidence in trying things, especially with the family. It's all very well me saying just chuck them in, but we could definitely do that. I think that would be really, really interesting.
So, yes, Jane's up for it. Yeah, we'll
Great.
we'll we'll keep you posted.
We will.
But in the meantime, yeah, if you haven't got one, get your homeopathy first aid kit. And as Sonia said, in the booklet, you can look up little symptoms and you can find out which one to take. But yeah, as a broad rule, taking something like an aconite, if you feel like you're going down with something, can usually get knocking on the head. Um, so Laura's asked, are all herbs mentioned in recipes suitable for children also? So Laura, I would say you'll probably notice, as I said, most of the herbs I'm talking about are very much available in the supermarket. So, if you're happy using them in cooking, we can use them in as medicine as well. So it tends to just be the format and the dosage that changes. With children, it depends on the age. Now, for example, with infants, you could just add something like thyme to some bath water. So you don't even need to take it internally, and that could be sort of just enough. And basically you lower the dosage based on the age and the weight. So yeah, dependent on the child, they're all safe for children, but you just don't need that much at all. As I said, with babies, just putting some water on the skin with the herbs in is enough. And as they get older, just uh, you've now I've forgotten the rule. What's Young's rule? But I can't remember exactly. It's basically the weight divided by something something. We can Google it and I'll get it up for you. That's how you work out the dosage. Sonia, I don't know if you had anything else to add. And just to say these, yeah, for the herbs mentioned here. Now, there are certain herbs which are not appropriate for children, but the ones mentioned here, they are very standard, safe. We've been using them for thousands and thousands of years type herbs for any infection. But yeah, sorry, Sonia, did you want to add anything?
I was just going to say that my rule of thumb is usually if a child is 12 or over, that the adult dose will probably be fine. And for children between 6 and 12, I would halve it. But it sounds like there's something more specific to go by. Young's rule. I'll
Oh
try and
yeah,
look
I've
it up
just
and put it in the
Googled
chat.
it.
Oh,
So
great.
it's the age divided by the age plus 12. So if they're 5, you divide 5 by 17, and then you times it by the adult dose, and that's the pediatric dose. So if it's 1 teaspoon for an adult, do 17 times 1. Does that make sense? No, it won't be 17. Sorry, age divided by 17 times the 1 teaspoon, and then you get that pediatric dose. So yeah, so that's the general dosaging. So you just yeah, just
Give
less.
less.
Um, yes, so yeah, so essentially, Hello Wellness, we've got immunity capsules, rosehip, elderberry plus tinctures, and then also incorporating things, getting a homeopathy kit and all these lovely other things that you can start to use with your loved ones and yourself. So, some other things. So, we've mentioned some fresh garlic. So, garlic, again, so easy to get hold of, and so many things that we can do with it. So, now will crush the garlic and I'll have it in the tea, but that is punchy. You've got to make sure that your loved ones don't mind you breathing garlic all over them. But that in itself can be incredible, especially for bacterial infections. I think David Winston recommended sort of eating however many bulbs of garlic for even things like MRSA and things like that. So yeah, there you can use garlic very therapeutically, but of course the limitation will be the fact that it is very stinky. But what I do love, now you can make this sort of, well, it's so easy. You can use, if you're prone to ear infections, you can make a lovely garlic oil with it, and then you don't have to swallow it and breathe all over everyone. So really simple is getting some crushed garlic and infusing it in olive oil. Now you can, of course, make this and infuse it so that it's ready to go, because the olive oil will preserve it. Or if you're not that well organized, even if you just sort of steep it for half an hour, and you can then use it. Now, make sure you are straining the garlic out. This is the one thing we don't want. We want the garlic to infuse the oil, not the garlic to be in your ears, because then you'll get in trouble for putting cloves of garlic in your ears. Be one of those types of cases that the doctors are like, great. So yeah, as long as you've strained all the garlic out, you can then use that in your ears. And of course, it's really, really incredible for ear infections. Yeah, so again, most of us have got garlic and olive oil in our cupboard and something that we can use straight away. Give it half an hour and you've got a remedy which is very potent, ready to go. So, another thing that you can do with garlic is make an oxymel. So, oxymels are quite nice. They combine vinegar and honey, so they're a bit sweeter to taste. So, again, better with children. And so the vinegar and the honey will be preservative. So what you can get is use the garlic, sorry, crush the garlic and add some lovely seeds. So the seeds like fennel and caraway, these are also going to be really calming to the digestive tract, and they're antispasmodic. So fennel, again, if you're like, you've got a lot of like painful coughing, fennel's a really nice one to again add into your syrup with licorice or thyme or whatever you have. And then what you can do is just take a tablespoon of that. Once you've followed this recipe, take a tablespoon of that, and you're getting a really nice combination actually. Yum. And you can take that in the morning as a preventative, as well as taking it sort of a couple of times a day to sort of knock something on the head. So yeah, that's a good way to use garlic. So it takes away some of the punchiness by adding sort of the honey and things like that as well. But yeah, very antimicrobial. And of course, should have done a whole slide on honey because this is a real big one that we need when we're ill. So yeah, combining honey and garlic, you're onto a winner there. Okay, so I mentioned I'd come back to the herbal sunshine. So calendula is definitely a really beautiful one. And it's always been used, it's sort of as a pot herb, so you can grow it really easily and throw it into soups and stews. This is what we do over the winter, because it is that really supportive of immunity. So calendula in itself is, we probably associate it a lot with the skin and healing and things like that, or skin healing, but it is actually immune herb. So really recommend, if you've got some growing, you can, when you dry it, you can then throw it into your cooking. You can tincture it, you can make oils with it, and of course you can buy Hello Wellness capsules with calendula in. I think Hello Immunity has calendula in. Yeah. And then, okay, yeah, so basically what we want to think about these dark winter nights, we want to bring in some sunshine. And this is exactly what some of these herbs do. So hypericum, which is St. John's wort. So this flowers around the summer solstice. So this is when the sun is at its highest. As you can see, it's sort of really bright yellow. And traditionally, this is known as this sort of an antidepressant. And the research showed that it is as effective as fluoxetine, a common SSRI for dealing with depression. Now, interestingly, fluoxetine isn't actually that effective. So although it's as effective as fluoxetine, it's only sort of, was, to be fair, like 30–40% of people. So you've still got a big chunk of people that are not going to get better. But this is why I think we have to start thinking about different types of depressions, that we can work out the specific type of depression that someone has, and then we can work out exactly the right herb that it's going to be supportive with. And what St. John's wort is helpful for is that depression which is dark and gloomy, and you just can't see, you really sort of yeah, can't see light at the end of the tunnel, because this is where St. John's wort comes in. It brings in the light, it brings in the sunshine. So it's very good for, yeah, helping with the nervous system. It's actually very restorative to the nerves. It's very uplifting. So just that thing, when we want to get to those sunny days, it's very good for seasonal affective disorder. Now, of course, St. John's wort, probably the most famous herb for not taking with any medications, because it actually supports the liver clearance of medications. So if you are on medications, so for example, the contraceptive pill, if you're taking St. John's wort, that'll clear out the contraceptive pill, because it's so good at detoxification that you may end up getting pregnant. So this is not great. So this is why, if you are on medications, we really don't want to say take St. John's wort, don't. But that's why people do get a bit nervy around it, because it's always like contraindicated with medications. But basically, it's a very safe herb. It's actually very good for detoxification. That's why it's contraindicated with medications. So if you're going on a detox, St. John's wort is a really good one to add in to support with clearance of certain things that you don't want in the body. So yeah, it is one that we've used again traditionally so much for helping with lifting the spirit, helping calming, helping with nervous conditions, helping with nerve restore and repair, actually using it in things like MS, really helpful. But yeah, this is the thing. What we want to do is bring in that sunshine. So that's what calendula does, that's what St. John's wort does. And of course, our other favorite is lemon balm. So, lemon balm is such a mood uplifter. I know Sonia is a big fan of lemon balm. She's like, it's our ashwagandha. So obviously lemon
So
balm's
true. Poor little lemon balm. It is our ashwagandha. It's in almost every single one of our formulas, I think. Well, not quite, but it's amazing.
yeah, well, that's the thing. So, because then it's so easy to grow. It's a mint, and you just rub the leaf, smell it, and already you're in a different world. You're in a happy place. Um, so of course, this is a wonderful mood uplifter. So the incredible herbalist, the Arabic herbalist Avicenna said it calls the mind and heart to be merry. And that's again, that's what we need in winter when the winter blues really start to strike us down. Then we need to get these uplifting herbs that yeah, make us know that summer will come. There will be the next side to it. Very calming for the nervous system as well. And really good, really lovely with children. Very safe herb. You make a cordial with it. Good for issues with bedwetting, nightmares, all that sort of stuff. Lemon balm's very, very helpful. And yeah, stress and worry, we can bring lemon balm in to calm everything down. So yes, so these things, as I said, calendula and lemon balm will be in a lot of Hello Wellness formulas. But yeah, and then there are ways to work with hypericum. Obviously, if you're on medication, not so much, but if you are not, then definitely one to look into. But as I said, very specific for bringing the sunshine in. So actually, we all need that. Another thing to think about would be bringing in the warming herbs, because obviously we want to have improvements in circulation. Because when things get cold, like if you just think about water, starts to get cold and then it starts to freeze and then it's hardened. And this is what can happen in our body. We don't want coldness in the body because then things slow down, start to freeze, and then it causes stagnation. So this is the melancholy temperament in sort of traditional Western herbal medicine. What we want is to keep things warm because when things get cold and stagnate, then they cause pathology. So this is why we love our warming herbs, particularly at this time of year, because we do need that extra support to bring that circulation back. So rosemary, another lovely kitchen herb, another mint, another one full of volatile oils, ones that we can use in so many ways. As I said, think bath, think steam inhalations, think tinctures, teas, so easy. Just add hot water. That's the easiest way to make herbal medicine. Unless you're nibbling it fresh from the plant, just add hot water and you've got something really incredible. But yes, it is a circulatory stimulant, which is why indicated for hair growth as well. It's going to help with stimulating the blood flow to the scalp. Um, then cinnamon. Now I do what I love again. I've got to check how many slides we've got left. Gosh, 7 minutes and 7 slides. I should probably hurry up. So cinnamon, what I love is that traditionally this time of year when we start to have more dairy, like cream and apple pies and all that lovely stuff, we'll be adding cinnamon because we know that we want something to warm up the energetics of cream, which is quite cold and damp. We need to add something warming. So lots of custard recipes will have nutmeg as well. Not just because it tastes good, it does taste good, but it's also helping balance that sort of thick stodginess with the warming herbs. So definitely, we know how incredible cinnamon is for warming us up, and it will help with digestion and improve vitality. And of course, we've mentioned ginger. It's our hero herb of the day. Digestion, respiratory ailments, muscles, all that sort of stuff. We can do so much with ginger. Okay, so hopefully we've got hold on, maybe 9, 12 herbs. And those alone actually could really do a lot, do you know? We don't need to really complicate things. Get to know like a few herbs really well, and then you can start to use them in so many different ways. So that's the beauty of herbal medicine as well. But of course, we want to think about our nutrition and our lifestyle. And what I love, again, autumn season, have so many beautiful squashes that's so high in things like vitamin A, which is, again, we needed for gut integrity, needed for our immune system to regulate our immune system. So this is the time we should be eating all the seasonal squashes, because this is what we need at this time of year to support our immune system. And of course, swapping to warming soups, stews. These are the things as our digestion slows down, because everything starts to slow down. We want to make sure it's as easy as possible to get the nutrients out of our food. So, of course, getting beautiful warming foods, prioritizing sleep, getting the movement in, because our lymphatic system needs movement. Again, we want to encourage. The ability of our lymph to flow, and nothing's better than yeah, walking around to do that. So make sure you are finding some way to incorporate it, even if you really don't feel like it, you will feel like it after you've done it. You'll be like, oh, I'm really glad I did that. So yeah, moving as much as possible, and of course throwing in some herbal teas. So, actually, I want to skip to the herbal teas just because I think this is a really nice recipe that you can incorporate, which is using some of the seeds like oregano. Oh no, that's not seed. Aniseed and fennel seed plus oregano and thyme. And you can, all you do need to do is add hot water, and you've got a really beautiful drink to support your immune system. But then I've added in some little specific herbs that you can do to for specific issues. So, for example, for ear issues, adding in some caraway that's really good for ear inflammation. For sore throat, lovely cloves, fresh ginger. For tummy pain, adding in something like cardamom, more fennel, more anise, that's going to really help calm the digestion. And then if you really want to build a fever up, then maybe a bit of cayenne, ginger, also mint, of course, as in peppermint, would be really, really helpful. Yarrow, if you've got any on hand. And then for a cough, you can just layer it up. So this is how, you can actually, you've got a herbal tea and you can just add a few more layers, and then you can sort of pick how you're using it to get in those specific heroes for each action of the body. So yeah, back to what I was going to say, staying hydrated. Bring in something like this, really nice way to get water in with your healing herbs. Of course, could not talk about medicinal mushrooms. So what I really like about the mushrooms is that, you can get these dried and again throw them into things like bone broths, and then you're again simmering out some of these beautiful things like polysaccharides from the mushrooms, so that you are getting like an additional immune boost in your broths and your soups and your stews, just throwing in mushrooms. So we could spend lots of time talking about the different mushrooms, but you've maybe probably heard of reishi, which is known as the mushroom of immortality, which is that's in our new blend, isn't it?
Yes, it's in Hello Bliss.
Hello, bliss. Yeah.
For winter blues
Yes.
and raising the mood with meadowsweet and reishi, and yes, it's really beautiful.
So there we go. Hello, bliss. Let's add that into our stack, our winter stack, because we've got reishi. It's great for sleep as well, great for viral infections. So you're getting a lot in that little capsule with the reishi in there, as well as all the other
Very
beautiful
true.
herbs. Mm.
Lovely.
Um, and then yeah, throwing in some mushrooms. You'll love them. They'll be great. They're there for dealing with the immune system. They're incredible at helping our immune system calm it down, stimulate it, whatever we need. That's what the mushrooms can do.
Mm.
So get in your herbs. So what we can do is add our turmeric, ginger, and garlic to a lovely butternut squash. You've got the squashes, again, rich in vitamin A. Get your chicken casserole, throw in your thyme and rosemary. And of course, getting in your bone broth, you can add your medicinal mushrooms and again, all the herbs you want. It's great, so much fun that we can make our meals. As they say, let thy food be thy medicine, and thy medicine be thy food. This is exactly what we're doing, getting in the medicine in our cooking. And I just really need to get this. Sorry, 1 second. It's just a parcel that I can't miss. Sonia, I'm so sorry.
Oh no, that's okay. Hopefully there's something in there for me. So, Four Thieves Vinegar, a historical immune remedy. This looks pretty fantastic as well. I'm wondering if anybody's got any questions for Izzy before she leaves us. Maybe pop something in the chat or put your hand up and you can ask your question. I just feel it's so important to try and have things ready to go so that they're easy to take when you do feel poorly and you don't feel like making the effort to create things. So this looks like another amazing blend.
Yes, and this is my karma for running over for the delivery man coming. So yeah, Four Thieves vinegar. I would say this was sort of made famous during the times of the plague, because people were using it to stay healthy from the plague. And the thieves, well, I say people, these specific thieves were using it to stay healthy from the plague, and they got in trouble for thieving all the sadly deceased people's possessions, but they were able to get away with not being put on trial, well, not being sort of punished for robbing the dead by revealing their recipe of what they used to stay healthy in the plague. So lots of sort of variations on this, but generally rosemary, lavender, sage, all these beautiful things. So you can make it in vinegar. There's also sort of essential oil blends with these sorts of things. But yeah, just shows how incredible herbs were that people were using them in the plague to stay healthy. But
We
I
always
don't
have,
recommend
haven't we? Hundreds and
that.
thousands of years we've used these things, and if they're there and ready to go, as I say, you can just nip things in the bud, or you can make them less severe than they would have been, or pass more quickly. I personally am going to go and throw loads and loads of things in my bath and just stay there for the afternoon and sweat it out, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what we should do. Just stay in the bath and sweat. So these recipes will be sent. This is a really nice one with some onions, just onions and honey, makes a really nice cough syrup. You can get some fire cider, your daily immune tonic. And this is again getting your vinegar with some nice heating herbs. Taking this every day is going to really help you stay healthy in the winter. And yeah, and actually elderberries are out if you want to make an elderberry syrup. But of course, getting the elderberry plus from Hello Wellness, so elderberry, echinacea, rose hips, this is your prevention. But then if you want to obviously get things at the first symptoms, bringing in more higher doses, garlic, make your Four Thieves vinegar, whatever you want, start taking those. Bring in some things that are really going to be soothing, marshmallow, getting licorice. And I think, to be honest, the key message is prepare now, because that's the last thing when you're ill. You don't want to be thinking about, oh, I got blah, 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 blah. Just to have it on hand. So you just scoop it out the bottle, take some drops, take your capsules, and then it's all ready to go. And of course, you'll keep your family healthy as well, and they'll be very grateful for it. So thank you so much for your hanging on, run over for a couple of minutes. But of course, go to hellowellness.co.uk so you can stock up on all the things that you like, which you like the sound of. And of course, we'll be sending recipes so you can make these things at home as well. And we're going to get Sonia to do a homeopathy webinar for us that you
Yeah,
can join.
I'd love to do that. I'd love to do that. Yeah, so massive thank you, Izzy. That's been really, really amazing. Main takeaway is if you're not already signed up for our Nature's Notebook emails, it's one a week. We're not annoying, I promise. We just give you loads of great value information and tell you about our webinar series. Next month is webinar that will be focused on menopause with the brilliant Caroline Gaskin, who is the menopause homeopath. So we'll be talking all about her through October, but we have lots of amazing subjects coming up. Izzy will be back next year, I'm absolutely sure, because she's just fantastic. And any questions, drop us an email.
Thank you. Ah, thanks, Alison. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for coming.